Hello. So, for my first video on this channel, I say we tackle vertex form quadratic equations. Vertex form quadratic equations, you will see them as this: y equals a parentheses x minus h squared. Make sure you remember that. Minus plus k, my bad, plus k. Okay, now when you look at this, you'll be lost if you don't know what these variables mean. The h in this equation equals our x coordinate on our vertex. Our k equals our y coordinate on our vertex. Our y coordinate. Now, the thing to pay attention to is that when you're looking at h, your x coordinate will always be the opposite sign of what it is in the space. So if you see a minus 6 as the h value in the h place, it will equal 6. If you see a regular 6, it's going to equal minus 6. Okay? And the y coordinate stays the same as the k coordinate. Now, another thing to pay attention to is, what does our a value mean? Our a value is going to tell us whether our function is going to be stretched or compressed. Okay? So for stretch, if your a value is greater than 1, it will be stretched. If your a value is less than 1, it will be compressed. Now, another caveat with the a value is that if you have a negative a, your function will be pointed down, but if you have a positive a, so just a regular number, it will stay pointing up. The parabola will be pointing up. Okay, now that we understand this, let's get into a couple of examples. Okay, our first example today will be -2. Remember, this is y equals this as well. -2 parentheses x plus 3 squared. It will not work if you put it in your calculator and you don't put squared. Minus 3. Our x and our y of our vertex, remember, are going to be our h value and our k value. So we have a plus 3 for our h value. So that will be minus 3, since we always switch the sign but keep the number. And our k value, when we put it into our vertex, will always stay the same as -3. So our vertex equals -3, -3. So when you're plotting that on a graph, this the vertex, you go over 3 to the left, down 3, and about right there. Depends on the units of your graph. Now, to form our parabola, we have to pay attention to our a value here. Alright? So remember, a negative a value equals an upside down parabola, or an n. It helps you remember. So we do have a negative value, so our parabola is going to be pointed down. But the most important thing to look for is to see if our a value is greater than 1. In this instance, it is greater than 1. Now remember, don't get confused with -2. -2 by itself is not greater than 1. But we've already took care of the negative, so at this point it's just 2. Alright? So the normal pattern when you're graphing these is it's over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4, and so over 3, and up 9, and so on. But in this instance, since we have a 2, the a value will always influence these numbers here, the up value. And it's going to make them larger, so it's going to stretch out our graph. So instead of it'll be over 1, but instead of up 1, it's going to be down, since remember a negative, it's going to be down 2. It's going to be over 2, down 8. It's going to be over 3, down 18. Now I don't have room to graph that, but I'm sure you'll be able to figure that out. So that's our first example of a vertex form quadratic equation. Now, I'm going to give us another one. Okay. Another example of this, it's pretty similar. It's 2 parentheses x minus 3 squared plus 3. Now this is the same exact equation, just with different signs for everything. Just to show you how this would be a simpler type of equation. So our h value and our k value equal negative 3 and equal 3. Now our x value is going to be 3 and our y is going to be 3. Remember, h sign right here changes. So if it's a negative, it changes into a positive. If it's a positive, it changes into a negative. Alright? So our vertex equals 3, 3. And if you graph that, that'll be about here. Okay. Now, our a value. Our a value is greater than 1, because 2 is greater than 1, but it's positive 2. So our parabola is going to be pointed up. Okay, but we still have to pay attention to that pattern. Over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4, over 3, up 9. But this time the pattern is not the pattern will look as this: over 1, over 2, over 3. But remember how last one the arrows pointed down, but since we have a positive a value, the arrows are going to be pointed up still, but we still are going to change the units in which that happens. Now I'm running out of room here, but I hope you can see that. So that's our second example on how to graph and understand a vertex quadratic equation. Now, your teachers might ask you to convert vertex form quadratic equations into standard form. Now that could be difficult at first, but once you understand the formula for doing that, it becomes a lot easier. Okay, so let's go back to our first example here. Negative 2 parentheses x plus 3 squared minus 3. Alright. Now because we're already in vertex form, we are not going to be focusing on our vertex here. Instead, we're going to be doing a formula that is a minus b squared equal x squared minus 2x h plus b squared. So just think of this. So in this equation, think of the arrow actually as our x. Okay. So in this equation, we have x. So I'm just going to give you an example on how I would do this. So we have x squared. think of it, it's going to be plus 6 plus 9 plus 9. Because 3 plus 3 is 6, and 3 times 3 is 9. This is still going to be minus 2 minus 3. Now, with these parentheses here, and let's distribute this negative 2. It's going to be negative 2 x squared minus 12. My apologies, I forgot. The middle value will always have an x attached to it. Minus 12x minus 18 minus 3. Now let's combine like units, and our final answer will be negative 2x squared minus 12x minus 21. And just a quick hint, if you want to change this back, you would do opposite b over 2a, and that will get our x value, and then we plug that in each of these x values, and that will get us our y, and it should match up if my work is correct, and you never know, I might be wrong. Clear board, and let's do another example to round off this video. Okay, and we're going to go back to our second example in the beginning, which is 2x minus 3 squared plus 3. Again, this is the same thing, just different signs for every single one of them. Now, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be 2 parentheses x squared, but this time it's going to be minus 6x minus it's going to be plus 9, my apologies, because minus times a minus equals positive, my apologies. It's plus 3. Now, let's remove the parentheses here. So 2, distribute as well. I forgot to say that, my fault. Minus 12x plus 18 plus 3. Combine like terms, and our final answer will be 2x squared minus 12x plus 21. Now, if you're having trouble understanding what is going on in here, it's simply you're squaring x, so that'll make x squared, and then you're adding together 2 of these. So negative 3 minus 3 equals negative 6. But then, with that same value, you're squaring it. A negative 3 times a negative 3 is equal to 9. And that's what led us to here. Alright? I hope you enjoyed my first video, and there's many more coming soon. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment below.